Yeah, obviously disappointed in how we played and the result of the game. Can't turn the ball over 3 times inside the 6 yard line and expect to win. And disappointed with that. And we have a bye week to get that fixed. There were a lot of good things, the effort that we played with, but too many things were defensively allowed too many explosive passes, offensively turned the ball over. We have to become a better team on all three phases. Really happy with our special teams the way they're executing, but just got to clean up things on both sides of the ball to get this part of it right. We have a bye week to do that, so we're looking forward to getting back to work tomorrow.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open up now for questions. Again, for our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. Our first questions come from Adam Miller.
Morning, Coach. You kind of alluded to obviously the 3 turnovers there in the red zone, which are unfortunate inside the 6 yard line. But you guys had I thought a really good job of moving the ball in the longer fields. You guys had 27 first downs in the game. You got those through the air and on the ground. What do you feel really changed with the shortened field? Like in some of those situations, is it just an execution thing, or was the defense doing some things differently that made it a little more challenging with that shorter field?
No, Adam, it's a really good question. I am happy because statistically, we're doing some really good stuff on offense. And even I think we're 12th in the country in yards per game, and we're moving the football between the 20s. It wasn't to me. It was like you go back and you look at the first interception. So we get the ball down there. We have a 1st and 10, and it's an awful snap. I mean, the center rolls the ball back there, and then AJ just needs to get that thing and throw it away. And it was an RPO. So at that point, you got to make a better decision. You can't let someone else's mistake become yours. So if you're the quarterback and you don't feel like you can get the ball handed to the back at that point, just throw it out the back of the end zone. It's going to be 2nd 6 or second 6 from the 6 yard line. Like we like our chances there. That one was unfortunate because that was on us. We could, as a quarterback, we talk about all the time. You can always correct other people's mistake. Like you have the pin last, and then the second one ended up in a pick 6, which is, I mean, it was a disappointing play. I don't know if it was a catch, if it was incomplete. They ruled it a pick 6. And, if we throw a good ball right there, Dominion walks into the end zone untouched, and we bled the ball up the field. And Dominion tried to had great effort, and the ball gets kicked up. Did it hit the ground? Did not? I don't know. They said there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. And then the third interception down there, and 2 of the 3 on 3rd down, 1's on 1st down, and the tight end's got a cross face on AJ's last one. And unfortunately, he got hurt because of it, and he's got a cross face right there. And we got to be smart with the ball, because if you take away a pick 6 and you just add 3 field goals, you're sitting there and you're probably 3-0 right now, and that's how fine line this thing is, because you get in the red zone 3 times, you move the ball the way we did. Just unfortunate, and we got to be better at the quarterback position, and we got to understand that we always have the pin last and don't allow others' mistakes to become ours.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. I just was curious, Jaden Barnes obviously had to come out standout performance. What have you kind of seen from that wide receiver room, and how have you seen them kind of develop so far this year?
Yeah, Billy, great question. I think AJ's had 3 good games in a row. He had the one, obviously, unfortunate play against Charlotte, but responded the right way. And he's been getting better and better each week. He's learning how to practice. He understands that what this slot position entails in this offense now, and he's working really hard, and he's having success. So it's easy to work hard when you're having success. That's the one thing that's got probably still a good vibe in our building right now. Is there's a lot of players having individual success. There's a lot of yardage on offense. There's good things that happening on defense. We just got to be the team that stops hurting themselves. And so Jaden's had a lot of success right now, and he's fired up and excited, and I think he's really enjoying it here, and he's really enjoying his role in the offense, which he should, because the ball is going to him a lot, because he's doing a good job getting open.
Any final questions for Coach? Ella, go ahead with your question.
Hey, Coach. Ella Snap, Appalachian Weekly News. Yes, it is a loss, but what are some positives you and the team took out of this game?
Yeah, Ella. Positives were, I thought we played really well on special teams. I do think we moved the ball between the 20s very well offensively. So we got banged up a little bit, which we're gonna have to heal through that. So the buys come at the right time. So there are positives in a loss. Like, it's just hard to acknowledge them, and as a coach, you never acknowledge them. But there are some individuals playing really well. Isaiah Cummings is playing really well. I mean, you look at, I think 3 out of the top 7 guys in our conference receiving wise are on our roster. AJ's statistically very good in the passing game. We got to eliminate the turnovers. Dominions having a really big year to this point through 3 games. So there's a lot of good things going on our team. And we just got to concentrate on don't beat yourselves and play good, clean football, and we're going to be okay.
Ella, go ahead with your follow-up.
And then my second question, you have 2 weeks to figure a lot of things out. And I think what some people want to know is, how AJ Swan is doing and what this quarterback situation is going to look like over the next couple of weeks going into Boise State.
Yeah, it's a great question, Ella. And AJ's currently getting an MRI right now. He did get hurt. That's why he did not finish the game. Like I said, but you take away 3 plays, and I was really excited about the way he was playing. And, but we got to figure out this week. We won't practice today. We have practice. We'll go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll have more information on him later this afternoon after his MRI. And then, obviously we went to Noah because he'd had the best camp. And then we felt like it was the best. JJ was not, after going through warm up stuff, he was not going to be ready to play from an injury as well. And then at the end of the game, we decided to get Billy in, and Billy had a 10-play drive and got us in the end zone and did a nice job for us. And him and Noah are both captains. They're both from Mississippi, and Billy was obviously at Southern Miss before. So happy with the way he came in and played. A really hard situation to put Noah in, to go in as a freshman, but he earned the right to because he had the best camp between him and Billy.
Thanks, Coach Loggains. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into the meat now. This is where it all counts and getting ready to play in the conference. We're excited to get started really, and continue to learn and move from there.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach. Obviously not the result you wanted with Coastal Carolina, but as you said, you guys are heading into your first conference game of the season. You get to face a South Alabama team on the road. What are some things, that you guys, obviously turnovers were a difficulty for you guys last week, but in addition to cleaning those up, just from an execution standpoint, where do you really need to see your team improve?
Well, first of all, South Alabama's a tremendous opponent. I got a lot of respect for Major and his program and how they play. They're well coached and they play hard, and it's going to be a tremendous battle there Saturday. And I think obviously turnovers. I mean, there's a lot of things to work on. We have 11 turnovers and we're -9 on the year. And I mean, you could probably take a look at most teams that are sitting at that ratio in terms of football, and they're not doing very well. None of the coaches are probably happy, and none of the players are. And, we preach it, we coach it. We've done a lot of things even in the past to work on that. We're just not making great decisions at times. We're under duress at times. We just have to be better at it and more conscious of it. That being said, there were some bright spots in the game. We have to be more consistent, and we have to make the routine play. I think we start to press when things don't go well, and we try to do more than we're supposed to do. But if you're supposed to block a guy, block him. If you're supposed to run 10 yards, run 10 yards. If you're supposed to catch the ball, catch the ball. Because I've been pleased with our defense, and I've been pleased for the most part with our special teams play. We have to catch up offensively, or it's going to be a long year.
Let's go over to Billy.
Yeah, Coach, and just kind of building off of that, not where you want to be on third down efficiency. What do you think you can kind of do moving forward, getting into conference play to kind of shorten the sticks on third down?
Yeah, we got to be better on first and second. That's one of the things, and you really look at last game was a testament of that as well, is if we're getting negative yardage plays or we're hurting ourselves. I mean, we had, I know, 2 opportunities. We were inside the 10-yard line and had penalties For example, we threw that one long pass and had a hold, ended up being a 62-yard penalty. When you take the spot of the ball and you tack on the penalty, like it's just not an offsides of 5 yards right now. When we have made some big plays and provided a spark, it just seems like something drastic happens and puts us back behind the chains again. And that's been a big talking point emphasis. Like how do we fix that? You know, how do we get our guys to rally with respect to like, hey, we just made a big play, or to continue to play with proper technique and fundamentals. That's what we just keep coaching. You know, at the end of the day, you just got to keep coaching those things, and it's going to click for us. It will click for us.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Billy.
Yeah, coach. I mean, I definitely appreciate the mindset, and I was just curious, you know, for those people out there, who are you kind of expecting? Who should fans kind of look out for, you know, to step up in that leadership role for the offense?
Yeah, you know, I was really impressed with Tad Hudson, his second career start. He gave us an opportunity to win the game. He made a lot of really good throws. There were times he was under duress in terms of, you know, some of the pressure situations and things, knowing you're down and they're bringing the heat, knowing where you're at in the game, and stood in there and made some big time throws and was accurate. Had one fault that I could say fault, one maybe bad decision by him that I know he wished he had back, where they picked it off on the 3-yard line. But other than that, I thought he made, you know, first start, I thought he played really well. So I would look for him to continue to lead our football team and provide a spark.
Any final questions for Coach Beck? All right. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
You know, just excited. It's game week again. Open week last week. You know, after a really tough loss, I thought our kids responded well. You know, we had a great week of preparation. You know, and then, man, but you want to get back on the field and you want to really have an opportunity to, you know, really get that taste out of your mouth. We've got a really good football team. We're about to face UTEP, who is, you know, you can obviously sit there and look at, you know, their first couple games and even their game against Texas, where, you know, I think going into the game, they had 10 sacks, 11 and a half tackles for loss, top 5 in the country. They a ton of pressure, a lot of movement, play really aggressive. You know, I think very impressed with you know, with their defense. Offensively, again, they've got a ton of receivers that can really run. With Malachi Nelson at quarterback, he's accurate, makes good decisions, and you know, they've had some explosive runs. So we've got a good football team, you know, in UTEP that we've got to go down there and play them Saturday night. So we're excited about the opportunity.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Coach Vincent, you know, you guys got your first, I guess, deep breath, you would say, early in the season, you know, with the bye week. Where were some areas you felt like the team really got better during that time? And was it a position group? Was it a player? Was it, you know, something maybe even necessarily off the field where you just felt like you saw there is tangible growth in an area with your team?
Really just in all aspects, because we had to grow in all aspects. You know, that Alabama game, you know, obviously exposes or really didn't execute great in any phase, you know, which is on me. But at the end of the day, you know, I thought we just got better as a team. I thought our mentality grew. I thought you know, we came to work with a purpose, not that we hadn't, but just a renewed purpose on who we're trying to become each day. And we know that, you know, hey, we got knocked down. We're 1-1. We've got 10 games in front of us. The whole season's in front of us. And it's just about maximizing each day and getting ready to play the next game.
We'll go over to Billy.
Hey, coach, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, what do you expect to see Braylon McReynolds, and how is his role going to evolve throughout the year?
I mean, really, right now he's our starting running back, and just being able to get him the ball in different ways. But you know, we feel like we've got a really good running back room. But Bam, you know, Braylon, he sees outside zone really well. He's a good pass protector. He sees inside zone really well. You know, he catches the ball well out of the backfield, so he's really an every down back for us, and his role will continue to grow. We've got to sustain drives. You know, we didn't We had 17 plays in the first half and not a first down. And give credit to Alabama, they had a lot to do with it, but we did a really poor job of executing.
Go with your follow-up, Billy.
Yeah, coach, I was just curious, what are kind of the advantages, coming off an off week, you kind of get to do that full reset. And then, what was kind of the outlook and the game plan moving forward with UTEP?
It was really just to focus on us, even going into the Alabama game, St. Francis game, yeah, you got game plans and you got an opponent, but we've got to be consistent, daily within ourselves and how we approach each day and how we continue to just get better as a team. I thought we got better last week. I thought we had a great week of practice. It was physical, it was fast. I thought our guys were in it and they really see the sense of urgency to make steps each day. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. The Sun Belt, and I know this week we're out of conference with UTEP, and we still got Northwestern out of conference, but we've got Arkansas State. The Sun Belt is a really good league, and you sit there and you look across the league, and it's about continuing the growth and development of your team because week in, week out, obviously anybody can beat anybody.
Any final questions for Coach Vincent? Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, Coach, one more thing. Obviously, gave us some surface level stuff about UTEP and certainly no need to go in depth, but this was a team that actually found a lot of success through the air last week against Texas. So what's maybe sort of the message to your defense in preparing for what could be another aerial attack where they showed some proficiency?
We just got to get sound and we got to get aligned. We've got to be sound. We had too many busts in the back end. And our guys will own that. And so we've really simplified things a little bit and let our guys play. But obviously, this week in UTEP, you've got elite receivers and an elite quarterback. And then it doesn't matter whether it's Arkansas State, who has elite quarterback and elite receivers. This is the way it's going to be, from now out. You're going to see great receivers and dang good quarterbacks. So we've just got to be sound in our back end and communicate better.
Thank you, Coach Vincent. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Go Warhawks.
Yeah, good bye week for us. Our guys feel like they're well rested, had an opportunity to just keep getting better. Things we needed to clean up. We felt like we were able to do that. Obviously, a lot of talk about penalties and sacks and getting the ball out of our hands. That's all important stuff. Defensively, red zone has to get cleaned up. Punting, on special teams has to keep getting better. So all those things we're able to just go back and focus on and really work our way through a plan of our continued improvement. And I felt like week 1 we improved, week 2 we improved, and week 3 here as a bye we definitely improved. So all important as we roll into this huge game coming up here.
For our media, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you to ask your questions. We'll open up now for those questions. Started off with Adam Miller.
Yeah, Coach. Obviously, you mentioned the bye week and the work you guys put in. You're going to face a Liberty team that's coming off back-to-back losses, but certainly they'll be at home and you're taking your team on the road again. So what's sort of maybe a early week message to your team as far as getting prepared for another road game and getting things back on track, but also an opponent you guys are probably going to get very familiar with going forward too.
Yeah, it looks like that, right, to be the case. But yeah, I mean, it's exactly what we've been talking about this whole time and what we've done all off season. It's just our constant ability to find ways to get better. That's it. That's all that we could do. And we go into this game. Obviously, this is, from what I understand, a pretty hostile environment. I haven't been there. I think I understand it to be a pretty two fan bases that have a lot to say about each other from what I understand. And ultimately, it's the game will be played between the lines, and our job is to make sure that we prepare ourselves and get ourselves, ready to go. I think that the bye week this early is, could be good. And at the same point in time, you stop whatever immediate momentum or improvements that really you want to happen and be tested and fire right away again. You didn't have a chance to do that. And you always see another team slowly getting better every game they play. And I know that they certainly did as they went through this last game. And for us, we just got to make sure that we use this week and every rep to matter the most so that we feel like we're in game and we get into that game and don't take a step backwards, but not, they're good. They're really good. And they're coming off of 2 losses, like you just said, which is going to put bad taste in their mouth. And we're going to expect the unexpected and expect them to be playing very, very hard.
Let's go over to Bryson Gordon.
Hey, Coach. Bryson Gordon from the Lynchburg News in Advance. You mentioned a little bit about the Liberty game, you guys being close together, playing each other. Just wanted to get your thoughts. It's been 11 years since these two teams have played. Nobody's really that was associated with that game is associated with these two teams right now. So can you speak about what it means for you guys to be, starting this rivalry back up again? And, this obviously is the first of quite a few matchups between the two of you.
Yeah, I saw it. There's a lot of games to be played between us two over the next bunch of years, and it's a team that's not too far away. We recruit a lot of the same guys. There's a lot in here that has us being similar. I think certainly the differences occur, but at the same point in time, it's our ability to make sure that we continue to just represent this area, represent ourselves, represent our school in this matchup to the best of our ability. So we know we got to clean up. I think it's nice to be playing a team not too far away, which even a 3 o'clock game doesn't disrupt the week as much as those late nights halfway across the country. So I think there's a lot of good in this weekend coming up, and we just got to make sure that we're locked in and prepared and ready to go.
We'll go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. You face a familiar quarterback in Ethan Vasco. Does that kind of give an advantage into the preparation? And, how do you kind of scheme against him defensively?
Yeah, so it's a different offense, very different offense than what he was playing in a year ago. So there's enough in here, though, in the pass game. There's enough in here in a few of the other things that has similarities. But when they start to get into this triple option and work through, the 21 personnel or that type of thing is just a little bit different. There's a lot of scheme, a lot of wrinkles that you got to be really locked in and prepared for. I think their running backs run really hard. Number one is really, does a great job as a kind of a utility guy that carries the ball, and they get him in space a lot. But all of that combined gives him those different weapons. And I think back to last year, I don't necessarily, off the top of my head, remember there being this many weapons around him. So what he does within this offense, what they ask him to do and who he's doing it with certainly stands out and is a little bit different. That still the same guy, still the same, still a lot of the same throwing mechanics, his ability to scramble, the toughness when he puts his pads down, all those things still exist just the same. So you do have a general idea of it. And I just think that, again, he's a heck of a player and definitely a leader on that team and does a good job distributing the football. So yeah, our knowledge with him is decent as far as size and speed and what it takes to tackle him. But as far as scheme, it's just a little bit different.
Any final questions for Coach Chesney? Go ahead, Bryson.
Yeah, Coach, just to follow up on that question about, 2014, where was Coach Bob Chesney at in 2014? What's different for you in your college football life? I'm sure you were in the very early stages of your coaching career at that point.
Yeah, where was I? I was, man, I had just gotten to Assumption College up in Worcester, Massachusetts, D2 school, and just had our second daughter at that point in time in 2014. So, or no, our son at that point in time. So, a little while ago, it was we were on the brink of trying to build something and figure that whole place out and ended up, doing pretty well. But yeah, it was a long time ago, very different. That was a lot more like this as far as the amount. We didn't not the amount of transfers, but we were, at that point had, some junior college kids on the team and transfers and things of that nature. But it was still the idea of developing that team and starting to learn who you were as a head football coach at that moment. And what we did at the D3 world was a little bit different at the scholarship D2 world with transfers, et cetera. And, and then we had a pretty historic run there. So it was early. There's a lot of growth that has happened in that point in time, but there's a lot of change that has happened in this world too. So, what you thought you were preparing back in 14 to be, sort of the blueprint of how you run a program all kind of went out the window recently. And you're looking at, what it is today. So, just kind of the ability to adapt and overcome. And that's something I've been able to do from, going from D3 to D2 to FCS to FBS. And that's, a big part of what you need to be able to do as a position coach, a head coach, is anybody involved in, college sports at this current date and time.
Let's jump back over to Billy.
Yeah, Coach. Speaking on the rushing game, you guys have the number 2 defense in the conference against the run. What do you think it is about your defensive unit and the physicality that they provide that really limits teams' opportunities in the rushing game?
Well, I think it's the physicality that we played with. I do also think that our pursuit and our effort, the past 2 games has been phenomenal. That running back that we just played was not an easy kid to get on the turf. And I thought our pursuit of, if the first guy missed, which he often did, the second and third guy showed up pretty quickly. And I think that to me is what stands out, that they're just playing very hard. And that comes from Coach Hitch and the defensive staff. They're just demanding that on every single play of practice to every single play in the games. And, that's what I think, if you ask me, the physicality and just how hard they're playing, stands out to me, is that you don't find people jogging or walking to the football or giving up on a play. It's just not in their makeup right now. And we got to continue that.
Thank you, Coach Chesney. Appreciate
All right.
the time
Thank you,
today.
guys.
Very pleased with our win. Of course, we did not play very clean, and we can't play the same way this week. We had too many Panther beat Panther penalties, which will cost you in tighter ball games. Luckily, our defense played well and bailed us out of some of those bonehead plays. Got to commend Coach Wright and Murray State for putting up great effort, and much success to them as they go forward in their journey. We play Vanderbilt in Nashville. We're looking forward to going on the road, competing against another SEC opponent. Clark Lee has done an outstanding job of building that program in his 5th year. What you notice the most about their roster, they're very grad, senior-oriented football team, in particular the offensive line. Pavia is the catalyst to their entire team. He makes them go. He's a leader. You can see his leadership in the way he plays, the way he carries himself, and just the energy he brings to their units. Offensively, they make you cover the entire field. They're a really physical bunch up front with a lot of grad transfers and seniors, a lot of veteran guys. The backs, Alexander. He's a very good back that runs downhill, runs behind his pads, a one-cut runner. You got talented receivers that can beat you deep, and they do a great job in the RPO game of when you try to add too many hats to the box, of exploiting that. And then they got a lot of deep shots and a little trickery, and still got to defend the triple option, which is the added piece that's really, really tough. They really expanded their offense, and they're more conventional, but they still have the option piece to it. Defensively, you got to be ready for zero blitz at any time. Same motto. They're very experienced. They have an older bunch of guys that play extremely hard. They're very disciplined, and they're very sound in what they do. So we got to be ready in all 3 phases. With that, I'll open up for questions.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Brady Weiler.
Hey, Dell.
Hey.
Looking back at the film when you got a chance for that, was there anything that stood out in a positive or a negative way that you hadn't necessarily seen on game day itself?
Like I said, just too many Panther beat Panther type penalties. The false starts, the hands to the face, the late hit on the quarterback. Those are the things that get you beat. Post and pre-snap penalties that we got to get rid of and play with a lot more composure. Other than that, I thought our defense played extremely hard after that first long drive, and they did a lot of good things. And we got to take another step forward this week against a very challenging opponent that's doing well and playing very efficient offensively. That you got to stop the run against these guys, and Pavi is the catalyst to that unit, and he's a very tough matchup because he's throwing the ball well, and he can beat you with his legs, and he makes broken plays, and he does a lot of good things for his football team. So all hands on deck going up to Nashville and playing assignment football, trying to match their physicality, and just really trying to get better this week as a unit in all 3 phases is our goal. And we got to put a good plan together in all 3 phases to compete with Vanderbilt.
Kind of along with where you just left off, what have you liked about your defensive line group to start the season?
They've been very active. I mean, got 2, Henry Brown and Funches Lewis have done a good job. Bishop Thomas has been added to that mix of creating some havoc and very quick twitch and creating pressures on the quarterback. Ian Matthews, Marlon Dean, who's outside linebacker, has posed some issues in pass rush. Biggest thing is we just got to be stouter in the run game, which we almost met our goal of holding the opponent to under 3 yards a carry. I think it was 2.9 if I'm not mistaken. So just let a couple of too many explosives, and we got to do a better job in the secondary of not taking bad angles to the football and covering up some of those mistakes on the second level.
Go ahead, Adam.
Coach, last year this was a signature win for the program when you guys were able to beat Vanderbilt at home. Certainly, circumstances can be different in a lot of ways for both teams heading into this season's matchup. But one thing that does stand out is, as you just mentioned, is containing the run, and that was one of the key elements to your win last year was stopping the Vanderbilt run specifically. What sort of things do you think give you an advantage in that area? And is there a message to you, as you're just answered a question about the defensive line, but the defensive unit as a whole with stopping the run a focal point again this week?
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be the case. If you can stop the run on any game, you got a chance on defense when you're trying to make a team one-dimensional. We definitely want to try to win first down, create some negative plays, get them off schedule, so to speak. We have to tackle well. Another D lineman that I forgot to mention, Gerad Florino, is doing a good job. He's one of our bigger D linemen that demands double teams, and his services will be needed this week. But we have to populate the football, take great angles to the ball, but have great eye discipline because they do have triple option elements. And then with the RPO game, our defensive backs, in particular our corners, got to stay connected to receivers and can't be too nosy and give up anything explosive.
Go with your follow-up, Adam.
Yeah, Coach, and talking about explosives, Ted had a really good game this past week, and this is he's catching passes from different quarterbacks, and he had a big game in the Vanderbilt game last year as well. But just talk to Ted and his ability to, it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball, just his ability as an athlete and a pass catcher to really blow open a game and be impactful and move the chains for you guys.
Yeah, everything kind of starts with him in the passing game, but you got to have a good running game or commit to running the football to help open up opportunities in the pass game. So that won't change this week. We got to try to establish the run and have an identity in that area to also try to maximize time of possession and try to control the clock, so to speak. But Ted has been doing an outstanding job. He didn't get frustrated after game one, and we come up with better plans moving forward. But a lot of it's going to be predicated on how Vanderbilt plays Ted and what our quarterback progressions are. But I'm just proud of Ted for how he's changed his approach after he catches the football. He's been making a lot of yards after the catch, and it's been yards after contact, kind of yak type yards. We hadn't got him loose where he can make guys miss yet. So hopefully we can get him in some one-on-one matchups where we can get the ball a little earlier. But that happens if it's man-to-man coverage and he's running a shorter route that will provide those opportunities. But just proud of Ted and his leadership, and his standard at practice has been outstanding, and guys at his position are really following his leadership, and we have a lot of young guys in that room that we're counting on, and he's doing a good job of showing those guys how to practice and how to prepare for a game.
Thank you, Coach McGee. Appreciate the time today.
All right, thank y'all.
Oh yeah, excited to get back to work. Today and get a really good game plan for Nichols. Disappointed in the loss, but you're playing the Big 12 champ on the road at their house. First round quarterback, first round receiver, tall task. I thought our guys, after reviewing the film, like I said, it's never as good as you think, never as bad as you think. Man, I thought our defense played really well. Thought they played at a high level besides maybe one or two snaps. Offensively, I thought we settled in as the game went on and kind of looked like ourselves. So a really good learning moment, and no moral victories, but I thought we got better on Saturday for sure. That'll help us, throughout the stretch of the season. So really excited about the team that we got. Really excited about the guys in that room. So we're just ready to get to work. Questions?
For our media, we'll open up now for questions. Please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start off with Caleb.
Hey, Coach. So the pass rush, only had one sack through the first 2 weeks, but last Saturday they collected 3. Just how encouraging is it to see that improvement there from guys like Khalil?
Yeah, I thought for the first time our defensive line. That's what I told Dex and OG yesterday. I thought for the first time our D line looked like the way it should look. They were aggressive. We played in the backfield, TFLs and had some sack opportunities, and we really should have had a couple more sacks and a couple more TFLs. That quarterback was just he's one of the best I've seen. With his pocket mobility and navigating the pocket and moving around, and his quickness was a very sudden, twitchy athlete back there that gave us some problems. But man, I thought the D line, like I said, besides a couple plays, played at a really high level, and that's always good to see. It was good to see, Kennard get back there, and he's starting to knock that rust off and play like the player that I know he can, and getting Don Terry some more snaps and Khalil and I thought Tymir played at a really high level, a couple snaps, and so. It was good to see those guys, and I thought our D tackle stepped up. So yeah, I was pleased with the D line for sure versus a Big 12 opponent.
Let's go over to Matt Gerard.
Hey, Coach, Matt Gerard with Mike Farrell Sports. Just wanted to ask real quick about obviously what you've seen over here of the non-conference schedule. From the beginning of the season to now, what have you really seen as far as growing and then heading into the conference season, obviously after Nichols? What do you want to see in this game heading into conference play?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've learned a lot about our team. I think we've gotten better each week, especially, some players that are stepping up and having to play more snaps, or, maybe guys that haven't started before. You're really seeing guys, coming to their own and starting getting comfortable and getting better. I think, in every snap, every game, Brad's going to continue to gather information and continue to get better as a quarterback. That's just what happens with experience. I thought, that's what I told them, yesterday. There's going to be so many learning moments from this game you're going to be able to draw back through, throughout this season, throughout your career. That's just going to make you even better. And man, he played his butt off, man. He's tough, and he stood in the pocket there as the game settled down and delivered some big time plays, and he's really good, and that gives me a ton of confidence going down this stretch is having a quarterback like Brad.
We'll go over to Jacob Rodriguez.
Yeah, Coach, I know you mentioned on Saturday that a couple of guys were fighting through some stuff. Just overall health wise, how's the team?
We'll kind of see. We yesterday we didn't get back till like 7 a.m. So we got guys back towards the end of the evening, did our checks with the trainers and all that kind of good stuff, and I thought we were okay. Just bumps and bruises. Anytime you play a big physical opponent like that, you're gonna have some bumps and bruises, so we'll know more kind of as it goes on what that looks like as far as availability for games and all that kind of good stuff. JoJo Landry will be out for the season. Tough blow for us. But hopefully, get him back next year and just a great kid. And, we'll be there with him throughout the season.
We'll take one final question here for Caleb.
Yeah, Coach. Greg Burrell saw some action in week 3 compared to week 2 when he didn't receive any offensive snaps. What changed between the weeks, and will we see more of him going forward?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Not sure on that one.
Thanks, Coach Kinne. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to be back in Statesboro, Georgia. Have our opening home game. Great crowd here at Paulson Stadium, and a really good college football game against Jacksonville State. Was really impressed with Charles Kelly's team. Thought it was a back and forth game. Thought we continued to improve as a football team. Offensively, it was great to see the balance of the run game really support a passing game with 219 yards rushing. Special teams wise, to have a non-offensive touchdown, which is about my favorite thing in life, to be able to have that kick return by Dalen Cobb and our kickoff return team was huge to try to create separation. We thought that special teams might be the key in the separation to this game, and it was. And then defensively, I thought we grew, especially in the second half. Being able to hold Jacksonville State to 10 points in the second half, 0 points in the fourth quarter when it mattered the most. I thought that we took a step forward in the second half and created some third and longs and really were able to get off the field. So good opportunity for us to go 1-0. We're thankful for it. Now we move on and got another home game against Maine this week. With that, I'll take any questions you got.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, you kind of alluded to your defense, but I guess one of my question is the way that game really unfolded in the second half. You guys gave up the touchdown right before half, and then they got those first. They scored twice to start the second half, but you still praise your defense and for what they did, and then at the same time your offense struggled a little bit to get things going, but eventually stayed the course and were able to close it out. Just what did you notice about the way your offense and your defense between possessions, the way that they're communicating and the way you guys were able to lock in to eventually pull out this win and make a fourth quarter comeback?
Yeah, and don't discount what we went through in the first 2 weeks. There was an immense amount of adversity to go to California, take that trip, play two really good teams. And I've always thought adversity is a blessing. It makes you stronger, it makes you tougher, makes you more together. And to be able to withstand those first 2 weeks and then come back, going into that fourth quarter, I said, guys, here we are. We talked about it. We talked about that. Those 2 games built us for this situation. And then they go 10-0 in the fourth quarter to win the game. I thought the things that to credit that was really our defense on their first and second down efficiency. I thought from middle of the third quarter on, you looked at the first and second down efficiency, all of a sudden you're getting 3rd and 7 pluses, where I think they went 1 for 6 for the rest of the game once that started. And then offensively, it was about leaning on the run game. We saw a lot of drop 8 coverages to protect against the pass, and we really leaned on the offensive line and leaned on our runners. And O.J. Arnold, who's been waiting for this opportunity, backing up Jalen White his entire career, now he's the front man, and he ran like it. And the other contributors like David Mbadinga, Jamarian Samuel, Terrence Gibbs, they did their jobs. And so it's always good when you got the lead and you hand it off 8 straight times to end the game, and you don't let that opposing offense come back out on the field. Makes you happy as a head coach.
Go over to Billy.
Yeah, Coach, you just kind of mentioned OJ's performance. But talk a little bit about, I feel like every week, we talk about JC just keeps growing and growing and growing. He's making better decisions. He's, making the effective, when do I hold it? When do I run? When do I throw it? How have you kind of seen him progress? And was this kind of like, a culminating moment of how he's going to perform the rest of the year?
Yeah, Billy, you hit the nail on the head. His decision-making has really been the difference for our offense. It's given us more opportunities. His ability to pull down and use his legs a little bit. We're using him in the run game on some short yardage and goal line things. He scored a touchdown off a zone read opportunity. He's playing like a mature quarterback, and that's what quarterbacks do. They get reps, they get experience, and they grow. For that kid to go 6-2 in a really tough league last year as his first year starting, you expect that going into your second year. His decision making, his anticipation, his accuracy has been really good and has grown with these 3 games. And so quarterbacks are supposed to provide hope to their team, and he provides hope to our football team.
Go ahead, Adam.
Coach Helton, another thing that, just kind of stands out to me was how, Jacksonville State only tackled you guys behind the line once in the whole game. But you guys were, consistently in the backfield, and just, your defense and what's their performance and how much that's going to mean to you guys as you go into closing out, your last non-conference game at home this weekend, but also into conference play, and just the boost of confidence that defense gave you guys in last week's game and moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I got to credit Coach Langford and the offensive line to give up 0 sacks against a really good pass rush team that had given Liberty some problems the week before, to be able to protect the quarterback, as well as, we took some gap scheme runs into this game to try to eliminate penetration. They had a lot of quick twitch players on the defensive front, so we chose to be a little bit more gap sound in our gap schemes, and it paid off for us. It really did. So credit the offensive line. I thought they did a great job. And then defensively, we talked about how talented their runners are, and they were going to win some battles too. They were going to make you miss, but the key was going to be the relentless pursuit to the ball, that if one missed, the next guy was right there. And I thought we did a really good job of that in the second half, of being able to create those 3rd and longs by getting the penetration in the backfield, making some tackle for losses, and setting up 3rd and 7+.
Thank you, Coach Helton. Appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you, Sam. Hail Southern.
Yeah, getting back to work this week, played a really good team last week and didn't play very well, on offense and defense. So, the results are come directly from that. And, you got to continue to grow, and you got to use it as motivation to get better. And certainly, that's what we're going to do this week, kind of already getting to work on getting win number 2 and trying to get this thing on track and get a little momentum, truthfully, going into conference, because right now, it's kind of been bad, then good, then bad, so you got to get a little bit of consistency here. And kind of like I tell our team, it's not disappointing, when you lose a game to a team that's better than you. It's not disappointing. I mean, the score, even if it's, that's what it is. It's just disappointing when you don't play well. It's disappointing when you do things that kind of hurt yourself. On offense, we weren't able to get anything going on 3rd downs. We weren't able to protect when we got into 3rd down situations. Weren't able to throw and catch it with any type of consistency. And then when you get behind the sticks a little bit in the run game with a team like that, it's going to be tough to make it back up when you can't throw it. On defense, we were able to get some pressure on the quarterback when we were able to get them behind the sticks. Didn't do it very often. We were able to force a turnover, really, punch another one out that got ruled, across the goal line. So you had some things on defense that were there, but we weren't very gap sound. We did some things that were uncharacteristic on defense. We're kind of playing behind blocks and trying to backdoor some outside zone stuff. And you do that to a really good team, and they expose you and make you pay. So, you got to get back to work. That's the bottom line here. We got to go play Eastern Michigan on the road, get a chance to go on the road again, play better on the road, which is important, and get some momentum going into conference, which is what we need to do. And that's what this thing's all about, is playing well when you get to conference. So this week is a big week for us, huge week, right? It's must win for us to get this thing on track and get ready to go into conference with some confidence and momentum.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach. Obviously you guys had a lot of difficulty getting the ball into the air against a team like Missouri. Obviously a tremendous defensive challenge defensively for you guys on your offense. But what are going to be some things that are important to you guys, especially going into this last game on the road, but then into conference play where teams can't load the box on you because you're a little less one-dimensional. What kind of things are going to have to happen for you guys in the passing game to make that possible?
Yeah, we gotta play in rhythm. And it sounds simple. It's the part that I think is the most difficult thing is it's not one person or one position group, if that makes any sense. One time it's the quarterback's off on the throw. One time the protection's too soft and we're in the quarterback's lap and he can't throw it. And then you got a good design and you don't, the receivers, not getting open, not winning in man coverage, whatever the case may be, or just a little bit off on his foot count. It's
that's been the thing I think it's probably been the most frustrating, in week one and really last week, is just that it's just a little bit off everywhere. The thing to me though is that, and I get the concern, on the outside world and the way it looks. I've seen these guys play really well. I've seen these guys throughout spring ball and fall camp. I've seen them perform at a high level. And right now it's not even about playing to potential. It's just about playing to the standard that they've set, and we've got to find some confidence in there. We're going to have to throw the football. I mean, we're not about to abandon it. This week our game plan is going to be normal. We're going to try to establish a run. We're going to try to take shots. We're going to try to get the ball out on time, get some quick game going. Confidence is a hell of a thing. It's a hell of a thing. When you have it, golly, it's hard to beat, and when you don't have it, it's hard to get it. So, we've got to do some things as coaches to try to get some rhythm in the throw game, try to help our guys out a little bit, build some confidence. Because I think when this group plays really confident, I think this offense is going to be able to get it clicking. We've just got to help them get there.
We'll go over to Billy.
Yeah, Coach, just wanted to give a quick defensive highlight to Jaden, 11 tackles, 2 TFLs. How have you kind of seen him step up in a leadership role, and how can that move forward? You talked about confidence, a lot of assisted tackles. You guys are really kind of flying to the ball. How can you kind of build on that and build that confidence moving forward?
I'm assuming you're talking about Duggar.
Yes.
Yeah. We're playing really hard on defense, and we have for 3 weeks. We're playing really hard. We didn't play exceptionally well, and look, a lot of that is credit to Missouri and what they did. They had a lot of speed to get the ball on the edges, and they're big up front, and their backs did a really good job. Ahmad Hardy, someone we're all very familiar with. You put him behind, and it was a problem, the best thing about Duggar, he's a quiet type leader. He shows up and just goes to work every day. I think if you asked him, I think he'd tell you he didn't think he played very well, to be quite honest with you, despite the stat line. And that's what you want, right? Our leadership has been exceptional this year. We've been through these types of years before where early in the year, we didn't feel very good about the way we were playing. There were years where we found ways to win them, but we weren't playing very good, and we didn't feel very good about the way we were doing it. Team just stuck together and figured it out and got on a roll and got hot. You go back to the 2020 season, the 21 season, both of those were very similar. Last year at this point, going into week 4, we just dropped a heartbreaker that, we cost us the game. We did things that were just self-inflicted, and then we rattled off some wins and got hot and got on a roll. That's what this thing's all about, is just, you can't stray from your beliefs. You can't stray from the things that work. Even when you're not doing things the right way, don't guarantee results, and that's the thing about football that's so great. You have to go into it every week and prepare the right way, do the things it takes to win. Then you got to go play well. And sometimes it still doesn't go your way. Our leadership's been exceptional though. And guys like Duggar, they're guys that do it the right way. They're guys that have worked and prepared for their opportunity in their moment. And they're not going to let it slip, and yeah, right now it's, you're not where you want to be. Even if we just ended up finding a way to win the week 1, we'd still not feel very good about ourselves right now after the way that game went. So, all that stuff is really irrelevant, what's happened. And the leadership, I think the thing they've done is talked about, what are we going to do to fix it, right? What are we going to do to move forward to get this thing where we want to? Because, every one of our conference games are in front of us. And that's what we've got to focus on. We got to learn from the things that we need to improve on. And certainly you got to continue to build off the things you're doing well. But the reality of it is what are you going to do? It's not what have you done. And I think that's what our leadership has really kind of emphasized as a team. That's Duggar's a big part of that too.
Thanks, Coach Des. Appreciate the time today.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I'll be brief as always. Good to see everybody. Tough one for us at home for many reasons, but congratulations to a great opponent in Memphis who came in here and was just ready to play and executed better than we did, especially in the first half. A lot of things to learn from, many things to certainly grow in as well, but didn't execute well enough, especially on the offensive side of things, to get anything going after our starter was out, and it affected the game in the finish. But with that, I'll take questions. Thanks.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start off with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Coach, just want to know if you had any kind of update on Goose, what his status is.
Yeah, it'll be, he just went through and did have to get surgical repair done. It's still indefinite as to when he'll be back. He will be back this season. It's just going to be a matter of a lot of medical terms and stuff of when they'll allow us to get him cleared. He'll be back. We don't know when yet, so we're going to have to ride without him for a little bit.
And in that respect, is Tucker the guy now, or do you try to get Ale ready? I mean, what's the plan with that?
Yeah, I think all options will be on the table. It'll start with Tuck, but also we're going to explore everything we can to make sure we're more efficient and find a way to gain yards and score points, much like we had to last year. So I'd say everything is on the table to make sure we're better than where we were Saturday.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Let's go over to Adam.
Coach Parker, you guys are going to go up to play a Buffalo team on the road that's coming off a big road win of their own in conference play. But what are some of the things that you feel that they did last week and have done so far this year that are going to present a lot of challenges for you guys and you need to be prepared for?
Well, you can tell they're well coached from a veteran head coach and Coach Limbo that's done it a long time. So what does that look like? They've got a great defense. Schemes are great on defense. They play really, really hard. They've got answers for everything you do and done a fine job. Special teams is obviously a huge responsibility that he takes on in his past, of course. So their special teams are great and they'll find many ways to attack you. And then offensively, they found a way to be explosive as well. They've got great skill, especially at the wideout position. The back is a really good player for them, and they play a physical nature of football on that side. So all three phases sound from a well-coached football team, and he's got them playing well right now, and we got to go up there. So much to prepare for again in our fourth week.
Jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. I just wanted to focus in on your defense a little bit. There were a couple chunk plays there in that game that, you can always look to correct. But, Jordan Stringer, 12 tackles, really looked like you guys were getting a lot of good penetration. Just talk about that and where you kind of saw your defense's effort.
Yeah, I think, we did not come out. It was a tale of two halves on like you alluded to. There's three plays really in the first half that a difference between you playing the same way you did in the first half is what we did in the second, to be honest with you. Just three things of guys just trying to do a little too much than just doing jobs like we did in the second half. But I thought, the effort was there. Execution wasn't in the first half. They come out second half. I think we led them to 4 drives and 4 punts and really executed at a high level and played. I thought we played angry. I thought we played physical and we played sound football. Our defense took a step in the second half, and it's one that we're going to have to take in entire games, especially as we continue to figure out who we need to be on offense moving forward for a little while. But much improvement in many ways in the second half. Just have to be ready to do it in the first half. And I think when you see us put that all together in 4 quarters, we're going to be really proud of where our defense is at.
Let's go back over to Adam.
Coach Parker, one more thing just about Buffalo. They're pretty sound against the run and have been in their first 3 games. They're giving up less than 3 yards a carry. And, what's sort of going to be the plan of attack there with, your running back room specifically and the challenge that they're going to have to face against a team that, again, it's been pretty stout, and your guys, opportunity or, must, I would say, to have to spread things out.
Sure. I think, you look at them, they've got a really good plan of how they do things to make sure that they are well and sound against the run. The biggest thing they do is use their 4 down front to mix up the front and free up their backers. They do a really good job of keeping their backers free and let those guys run through, stay over top of stuff, and knock the ball down for short gains. So I think scheme is going to be a big piece of it. Of course, our leverage and how we attack it with angles is going to be another big piece. And then we've got to make sure we have enough with our players. We've got to put them in positions to be able to gain confidence to run the football the way we expect to around here. We've got to find a way to hand the football off. And I think that'll be the telltale sign, up there when we go up this Saturday.
Thanks, Coach Parker. Appreciate your time.
Yep. Thank you all.
Yeah, it was
was a great night in Huntington on Saturday. First win against what we felt was a really good opponent. And I thought our kids played extremely well on all three sides of the ball, three phases, did some really good things. So was excited about that. And now just got to continue to keep getting better and get ready for another game this weekend.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Coach Gibson, you mentioned you're, being pleased with all three phases, all three sides of the ball. But the, what stood out to me was, your ability to run the ball in this game and the number of guys who were able to have impactful plays. And, you had, I think, more than half a dozen guys who had at least one 10-yard run. Just talk about, the confidence boost that they had and having some room to run, and obviously your offensive line making that possible.
Yeah, I thought, it all starts with our front, and I challenged those guys all week to dominate the line of scrimmage, and they did that. And then the other piece of this, the +1 run game with Carlos, he opens up so much more for us in the run game when he's in there, because of his ability to do it. So, and then once he ripped off a couple big runs, you have to hold somebody backside for him, and then it opens up, for our backs a little more. So, but very pleased with that. I thought that, Barbie, Justin Williams, Michael Allen, Antoine, I mean, those guys all had really good runs. Judah Price came in, had some nice runs. So was pleased with that whole room.
Let's go over to Tyler.
Coach, congrats again. Something stuck out when you go back and look at it, special teams for you guys. Obviously, you get a block punt, you pin them at the 1 at one point, and for a good majority of it, you guys started in their territory. I guess could you talk about that phase, maybe specifically about Totten and how he's done so far?
Yeah, Totten had a really nice night. Had a 59-yard punt down at the 1-yard line. Lorcan was really good with his kickoffs. We did miss one field goal, which was disappointing. And then I thought Floyd Lacey, his punt returns were huge. He shifted the field a couple times for us. So, he's a threat back there. He's a big play guy. And, thought we protected well with our punt team. And then Xavier Short blocked the punt. So, which set us up again inside their own 30-yard line. So, it was, we complimented each other in all three phases, and it was good to see.
Let's jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach, I got two questions for you. The first one being, what does it say about this team and this unit, not only the coaching staff, but the players, the captains, the leaders, to respond in a way like that, and it's specifically on defense, where you limit a team to just over 100 yards for the whole game? How is that response? What does that say about, the way this program is heading?
Yeah, I think it's we all knew obviously Georgia was a tough game. We knew going in we'd have to play our best to even compete, and we didn't do that. And then you go into the next week, the home opener, against a team that we feel like we should have beat. And so it was a long week for everybody, and the kids were disappointed with the way we played. We didn't finish, and so it was a hard week for those guys and the staff. And everybody was uncomfortable. And we had a really, really good week of practice. I thought our kids responded really well. And the thing about these kids right now, again, you're 74 new guys. It's everything we do is a first. So you go on the road to Georgia, we play our first game. When we come home, we play our first home game. So everything's a little different. And I just felt like this week everything calmed down. We've had people working on our field. We're putting a new addition to our Shuey building. I mean, there's just been a lot of distraction here, and this is the first full week where we've not had all those distractions, and the kids really, really focused and locked in. And Eastern Kentucky's a playoff team, FCS level. They're a good football team, and I thought that we responded, and they came out and did things the right way, and it was great to see.
Go back over to Tyler.
Coach, you mentioned the second half, maybe not as clean as you wanted. I guess now that you've had time to go back and look at it, what maybe some things you're hoping to improve on this week?
Yeah, we just got sloppy. Carlos could have played. We didn't start him in the second half. And you know, we throw Jakai in and we had some protection issues. They forced a fumble, strip sack. It was disappointing to see. But then we got back on track after the first couple of series. Everybody calmed down, and then Jakai started moving the ball, and we scored again. Then we got down in the red zone again with Zion, and we fumbled. So those are things that we got to clean up. Can't get sloppy, and just again, it's learning how to finish a game the right way. And so you know, we talked a lot about that, and it's a lot easier this week to coach them and be hard on them on those mistakes when you win a game, because we had so many good things, you know, in that football game we showed them. So it was a great meeting yesterday. We had a great practice last night. Coaches are getting after it today and moving on to Middle Tennessee.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Sure. Well, you know, obviously really appreciative of our players. Hard fought game. You're playing the 14th ranked team in the country. And, you know, we gave us an opportunity to win the game in the fourth quarter. And that's really what we talked about, you know, to be able to beat, you know, high quality opponents. You got to play 4 quarters. You got to get the game to the fourth quarter, and anything could happen. We were able to do that. We weren't able to win the fourth quarter. And I think when you look at it, obviously winning is very fragile. And, you know, you could pick out 3 to 4 singular plays that kind of make the difference between winning and losing, but they really all add up to, you know, a sequence of plays. You know, obviously the 2-minute, the 8-point play within 32 seconds of the first half was, you know, one of those sequentials of the game that really kind of affected the game and the outcome. But, you know, again, I thought our players battled. I thought our resiliency, our effort, our toughness gave us an opportunity to win the game, and we came up a little bit short. Great challenge going on the road to Atlanta, Kennesaw State. They've done a really good job with the portal of building their program. You know, there's different matchups. Style of fights dictate the style of play game in and game out. And this is a completely different style of game than what we've experienced last week. So that's going to be a great challenge in and of itself. So I will pause right now and answer any questions y'all may have.
We'll open up now for questions. First questions will come from Luke Matheson.
Butch, obviously you guys just played back-to-back Power 5 teams there. What was the biggest difference that you saw from the Arkansas game to this game with Iowa State this past week as far as improvement goes? On top of that, where do you need to continue to go, and what are your thoughts on the upcoming opponent this week?
Well, you know, that's exactly right in terms of the progression. And I think when you play quality opponents, at times it's hard to see where you've improved just because of the quality of the player that you're playing against and the team. I think, you know, the 2 Power 4 programs that we've played, their styles of play are a little bit different. But you know, what I saw is I saw more 11 for 11. I thought our communication was much better. I thought we played more freely. We played more together. I thought I saw some individual improvements in terms of fundamentals and details. Was really worried. They had the #1 punt return team in the country, and we couldn't lose the game on special teams. And I thought, you know, we didn't do that. So I just think the consistency and performance improved. We were able to establish a run game. We were more consistent in the run game. And we did the things that we needed to do. We executed the game plan of what it would take to beat a quality opponent like Iowa State. Now we go on the road, and like I said, style of fights kind of dictate how you're going to play. This is completely different. Up-tempo offense, 2 running quarterbacks, mock speed, really, really good skill. And then defensively, really stout up front, good corners, physical team. You know, same thing. They went on the road first game and really outplayed Wake Forest and should have won that football game. So a great challenge. And just like any week, it starts with your preparation. But I thought, you know, the other improvements is I thought we had an average week of preparation for the Arkansas game. I thought we had a much better week of preparation for the Iowa State week. And I think our players learned about the value of what it takes day in and day out to prepare.
Let's go over to Charles.
What's going on, Coach?
Charles.
The rush defense had a rough couple weeks. What's the message to the team, or to that side of the ball, going into this week?
Well, I think, yeah, so it's all relative to the quality of opponent. You know, last time I checked, we played an SEC team, and then we played the 14th ranked team in the country. That doesn't excuse, you know, the inability at times to stop the run. We haven't given up very many explosive runs. I think where we've let people bleed us. And, you know, we talked about it earlier, the 4-yard runs, the 5-yard runs, the 6-yard runs, and now you're behind the sticks and it's 3rd and 2, it's 2nd and 4. And those we've had a hard time recovering. I thought we did a better job at times this past week in terms of being very gap conscientious, being gap sound, getting off blocks. So I think it's been a combination of a little things. I think the eye discipline, the communication, you know, where we've got into problems at times too, has been a mental error or a lack of communication. So I think it all kind of goes hand in hand. The quality of the opponent, you get exposed with some things probably you can't get away with. Charles, I didn't think we did a particularly very good job of tackling on Saturday. We didn't run our feet on contact. We were more like missiles and diving, and they were all or nothing instead of wrapping up and running our feet and drive your feet for 5. And that's something that, you know, we have to do a much better job and continue to improve, especially for this week.
It's cool if I go with the follow-up, Sam?
Yeah, go ahead, Charles.
During your press conference on Saturday, you mentioned that the team was beat up. Any updates on injuries?
Yeah, I think our kids have done a really good job of, you know, getting in the training room. I don't foresee anybody being out this week. I think it's just a cumulative effect of, you know, 4 games and, you know, one of them versus an FCS playoff team and then an SEC team and then a 14th ranked team in the country. So I think it's just an accumulative effect. I think the positive thing that occurred on Saturday because of some of players being limited is we had some individuals that really gained significant playing time for the first time. So I think the volume of work, the volume of repetitions that they received, how we divided the labor, all those things, I think that really helped us in providing now some competition and some depth.
Got time for one more question from Luke.
Coach, I want to ask you about the running game Saturday night. Several sustained drives, 13, 14, 15 play drives, took significant time off the clock. I want to ask your thoughts, one, on the offensive line for making that happen, but also I went back and watched the film last night. You had a lot of great perimeter blocking from your wide receivers to help make that happen as well. Just want to get your thoughts on the run game and how you can use that moving forward.
Well, look, I think first of all, when you're able to run the football, I think it's a combination of all 11 individuals working together as one. And, you know, so much of it is the perimeter blocking and understanding your leverage. And then, you know, how do you restart your feet? How do you run the outside number? All those things that go into it. I think restarting your feet in football, whether it's blocking or tackling, is one of the hardest skill sets to do in all of football. So again, we put a premium on our receivers being able to block. You know, I think being able to run the quarterback and being able to be +1 versus the rover defense, I think that helped us. And I think just the overall strain of the effort, it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought our kids tried to play through the echo of the whistle. I thought we did a good job of numbers, angles, and grass in the run game. And that's what we talk about all the time too, is, you know, how can we help our offensive line out? So I think it was a combination of what you saw when you watched the video in terms of, you know, the right run reads, being able to run the quarterback, being able to be balanced. You know, I think that's the other thing too, is when you're able to effectively run the ball and you're able to gain 4 and 5 yards, well, now, you know, that adds so much to your playbook in terms of play pass, run pass, all the different things that you have the luxury to do. When you're not able to run the football, you become one-dimensional. You have to go against one-dimensional pass rushers, all those things that go into it. So I do think it was a combination of all that why we were able to run the football.
Thanks, Coach Jones. Appreciate the time today.
Yeah, you guys have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, I'll go. I know Ricky's probably celebrating still, so I'm sure he's busy. I'll take up his time. No problem at all. I've been basically filling in for him, our whole career. So, obviously a great game for us Saturday night against a really good opponent. Obviously, there's a lot of things to clean up, but a win is a win, and you can't get enough of them. So, great opportunity for us to learn. Really good performance by our defense, especially in the red zone. Thought our offense continues to move the ball efficiently. A lot of things we got to get cleaned up. Got a huge challenge coming up this week. This will be our first road game of the year. So the first time our organization will have to actually travel and go through the whole travel regiment to go down and play a really good Louisiana Tech football team.
We'll open up now for questions. For our media, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you to ask those questions. Our first questions will come from Heath Hinton.
Hey, Coach. Offensive line, the running game has really improved last 3 weeks, over 100 yards. You feel like you really got that settled, the starting five, and can you talk about the running game this past game, getting over 100 finally?
Yeah, we've got about 7 guys that we like on that starting kind of rotating offensive line group. It kind of depends on what our plan is by week of who plays as much. The starting 5 have gone out there first, but throughout the game, we have some guys who rotate in, want to try to get another 2 or 3 guys in a little more to create a little depth as the season goes on. Our run game philosophy and thought process changes every week. We're not just going to line up and hand the ball to the running back and see what happens. We're going to try and protect our offensive game plan with the runs. We use the screen game. We use the lateral, bubbles and those types of things as well in the run, as well as traditional runs. I think the more options or ways you have to run the ball creates a little bit of an advantage. Obviously, traditionally, you turn around, you hand it off to the running back, and that's great. But there's a lot of defenses now and a lot of really good players on defenses who make that difficult at times. And if your matchups aren't great, you don't want to kind of just force things. So we've been able each week to kind of continue to be creative within our scheme, continue to be creative within our playmakers. Last week, we had a little bit more of an advantage running the ball with the running backs. I thought they ran a little bit harder than they did in the first couple of games, which was allowed us to break some tackles and create some yak yards, which also helps. We've been playing 3 of those guys, and they've all kind of started to really find their groove. It's difficult to evaluate them, sometimes when you're not necessarily handing the ball off, but you're using the other variables in your scheme to create running yards or rushing yards. But I've been pleased with our plan each week. I think we have efficiently ran the football. Obviously, it's going to be visually different to some people. Every week's going to be different. It'll be different this week. So I think, again, for us, it's more about the efficiency of the run game instead of the particular run plays called, if that makes sense.
Heath, go ahead with your follow-up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, defense Tap had a big game, 3 sacks. Was that something y'all saw on film where you line him up, maybe you could take advantage of him and his speed at some areas? Because he really had a good game and just seemed to line up in the right spot every time.
Yeah, I think, obviously there's a personnel, piece to it. I think he had an advantage over the player he was going against. And then obviously when you get into certain points of the game, you can kind of dictate what the offense has to do. The score kind of put us in a situation where we're anticipating pass a little more. So the defensive line can have a little bit different philosophy on their rush techniques and their understanding of situational football. Sometimes when the score is close, you got to kind of play run and pass or play run to pass, whatever that may be based on the call. But I think Tap did a really good job of taking advantage of his opportunities He's got unbelievable skill set. We've been really impressed with him the entire season. Last night or Saturday night was probably more impactful from a visual standpoint than he's been. But when you go back and look at the film, he's been week after week, he's been very impactful, sometimes just doing his job that doesn't always lean to a stat. Sometimes the cohesion of a defense is as important as who makes the play. And Tap has done a really good job the last few weeks of doing his job. And then obviously Saturday, he was able to capitalize on some opportunities when they came.
Let's go over to Scott Watkins.
Hey, Coach. Anthony Richard, he's had a really good start to the year, and his snap count has gone up each game. Can you talk about what you've seen from him so far?
Yeah, I think he's the byproduct of Moten being on the other side. I don't think a lot of teams want to throw at Moten. Obviously, when you do breakdowns, you're trying to find as many advantages as you can. Moten's a really good corner. So if you get the chance to throw at the other guy, I think that's probably what a lot of offenses are doing. And Richard's just doing a good job of playing within himself, doing his job. I think we've done a really good job in the back end. We've probably defended, 15 or 20, balls down the field, and we don't have a lot of penalties. We don't have a lot of holdings. I think our guys are doing a really good job with their technique. They're doing a really good job of playing the ball in the air. They're not grabbing. We went through, August camp, and I was all over them about every time they tugged, grabbed. Don't resort to the emergency plug. Go ahead and use your technique. Trust your technique. And I think they've done that. And Richard's done a really good job. The last few weeks of just doing his job, playing really good technique. His eyes are in the right place. He prepares at a really high level. Coach Calhoun does a really good job of not only technically preparing those guys, but schematically preparing those guys for what you may get, what may come your way. So I think he's done a good job. He's still got a lot of room to improve. There's some things that we keep pointing out that he's got to get better at, but he's done a really good job of stepping up in that role.
Any final questions for Coach Huff? Thank you, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Yes, just really excited to start our conference play. Against a very good team in Coastal Carolina, and disappointed in our loss last week against Auburn. I thought we could have played better, should have played better. Competitive is not necessarily the compliment we're looking for. We want to win the ball game, but we did not play well enough on offense and establish ourselves on the field on some third downs and some red area drives to really truly make it competitive. But proud of the way our guys play. I talked to them, proud of your style of play, proud of your physicality and your effort, your discipline out there. You didn't go out there and make a lot of penalties that are going to get yourselves beat. But at the same time, there are a couple things that are showing up that have, continued to show up that we got to fix as we get into conference play, but ready to roll, ready to play this Coastal Carolina team.
We'll open up now for questions for our media. Please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Coach Applewhite, some quick hits by Auburn on Saturday, and they jumped out in front of you guys early, but it seemed like the defense really settled in probably early mid-second quarter there. Did you feel like you guys were getting home or getting executing at a higher level maybe at that point? Because it really felt like Auburn sort of struggled to move the ball for the rest of the game after that point.
Yeah, I thought that they're obviously have got some elite skill outside, albeit young, and it's going to be really good in time. But there were some mismatches, and so there's some times where we're having to play on top of some things. A little bit of bend don't break, and like you said, there in the first quarter, there were some things that did break, that didn't bend. And then as you got into more of the second and third quarter, and then specifically the second half, I think we had five explosives that we gave up. Which is not a bad number. I don't care who you're playing, but a team that plays with tempo and has explosive athletes, it's not a number. It's not a bad number at all. It was some of the runs that were bleeding, and it was some of the situations. It was some of the third down staying on the field. They did a good job of staying on the field. We've got to be able to match the old, what we call railroad, which is a mesh concept. We've got to be able to match that. And there was a third down that they threw a little simple curl flat, got a guy over the middle in between our hook defenders. It was more of getting off the field on third down, but I was proud of the way they limited explosives. We got to continue to work on our tackling and staying on top of routes and not giving up explosives as a defense, but I was proud of the step forward that they took.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Just looking back on the Auburn game, just overall perspective, it looked like, I mean, nearly every drive except for two was 10 plays plus for both sides of the ball. What kind of a grind does that do for not only your players but your coaches, not only like mentally but physically?
Yeah, I mean, well, for us, that was a little bit of our plan. If they're going to score, then make them go 9, 10, 11, 12 plays. But we're not going to survive a scoring fest where we're trying to trade haymakers with Auburn. Okay, this guy Cam's pretty good. This guy Arnold's pretty good. They got good backs, regardless of how many of them are hurt. We're not going to be able to trade 7-point swaps when they're number 1 in the country in sacks, number 2 in third downs, and 30 yards per game rushing. They're giving up. So we're going to need to stay on the field, try to stay on the field on offense. We're going to have to make them drive the football field on defense and make them score the long way. It's amazing that you only score 15 points now, albeit 2 missed extra points, but you scored 15 points and punt the ball 1 time in the ball game. So that tells me we didn't do a good job of finishing some of our drives in the red area, or we turned the football over. So we got to look at how we can be more efficient in those areas.
Let's go back over to Adam.
Coach Applewhite, you just mentioned being a little more efficient offensively, but heading into this first conference game cross division with Coastal Carolina, what are some challenges you believe they present to you guys? And in addition to you guys and your need to execute offensively, like you just alluded to, are there any other areas that are going to be vital for you guys to meet that challenge next week?
Well, I mean, I think you've always got to plan for the unexpected, and I know they're not playing the brand of ball that they want to play, and we're not playing the brand of ball that we want to play. I think their quarterback last week showed signs of a competitor, and I felt like they had a sign of a guy that's going to be able to make some plays for him, whether it's throwing the ball into some tight spots or competitively putting the football down underneath his arm and going and getting yards. I felt like they looked better on offense last week. Major, you can't say that they didn't score. You can see it as a coach. You can see when a guy gets in and a side of the ball moves down the field some and has some confidence in what they're doing. So I think they're on the cusp, but we've got to be prepared for that. We've got to be prepared for them in terms of what they're going to do offensively with a new guy at the helm. If they decide to play 2, defensively, they're starting to add more and more every week. You can kind of see week 1, Virginia, week 2, Charleston, week 3, more defense, East Carolina. Okay, now you're to conference play. So there's going to be some wrinkle in there that we have not seen. We're going to have to go deep into the recesses of, Louisiana Tech film to find out what it may be, because it's going to happen. So we got a lot to get ready for.
Coach Applewhite, Voisin's obviously a known commodity 7th-year guy at South Alabama, but it seems like he's firing at all cylinders this year, 4 touchdowns in 3 weeks. What is it about obviously his preparation and obviously being a 7th-year guy that has enabled him to, kind of flourish this season for you guys so far?
Well, he's the kind of guy that we all like to work with. It doesn't matter what business you're in. He's number one, he's a good person, has a smile on his face, he's excited about the day. He's committed to what he does, highly committed, nutritionally, sleep, other teammates, hey, get on the same page with me. This is what we're getting ready to go do. He's excited about his work. He's the type of person you want in your organization. And he's done it a lot. And so he has a lot of experience doing it, and he can share those experiences with people. And because he's a likable, nice person, they listen to him. So he's of tremendous value in our building in terms of how he adds to the team, not just catching footballs, not just being a punt returner, not just being a gunner on the punt team, not just being a kickoff returner. He can do it all, but he's there's a lot of intangible things that he has a benefit in our building.
Thanks, Coach Applewhite. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys. You have a good one.
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you for everyone being accommodating here. I had another engagement, so I appreciate that. And sorry about the lighting. It's probably more of my own issue right now. It makes me look a little older right now, but we had a long bus ride back from Virginia Tech. It was a great win by our kids, and I thought they played incredibly hard, and they played, violent, and they played as a team. And so it couldn't be more proud of them.
We'll open up now for questions for our media. Please use the raise hand function, and we'll call on you to ask those questions. We'll start it off with Adam Miller.
Hey, Coach, one of the things, before last week's game against Virginia Tech, when we were on here talking, you said tackling was going to be a huge part of whether you guys were going to be successful against Virginia Tech or not. It really felt like that was certainly on display, especially in the first half. But how did you feel like, in your opinion, evaluation at the end of the game? How would you grade your team in terms in that specific category?
I thought no, I think you hit it on the head. I think we did better in the first half, and that really helped us. I think when they started putting some plays together in the second half, I think our tackling went down a little bit. Yeah, I stand by it. I think tackling was a key part in the game. When we tackled well, we were able to hold them at bay. When maybe we didn't tackle the way we needed to, is when they were able to get the ball going. And so I think that even the drive they got that we caused the fumble, we didn't tackle real well that drive. But then, after that, obviously it was a great play by Jeremy Mack. And then we were able to get that fumble. And then I thought we tackled really, really well the rest of the first half.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Just kind of building off of that, you guys seem to be in the backfield a lot of tackles for loss, the forced fumbles. What did you see from a physicality standpoint, kind of building off the tackling from your defensive unit to, essentially keep them in check for 3 quarters?
Well, I thought on both sides of the ball, we owned the line of scrimmage. I mean, we had a 4-0 sack margin, an 8-3 TFL margin. I mean, those are going to be some things. And then we won the rushing game by 80 yards. So, I mean, those are things that I think showed that our defensive line and our defensive front was, hitting their keys and attacking people. They weren't reacting, they were attacking. And our offensive line was doing the same thing. And so I think it's a credit to our coaching staff, putting them in position to do that. But it's a credit to those guys coming off and trusting their training and really coming off the ball ready to strike.
Let's go over to Scott Jackson.
Hey, Coach. Congratulations, first of all, great win. Just your thoughts on, the obviously the kind of the fallout from the Virginia Tech side of it when it's somebody that you know personally and somebody that obviously you're friends with, and how kind of the mixed emotions maybe there.
Yeah, I mean, as a football coach, you don't ever want to ever see anybody lose their job, and obviously Brent, I know his family. I mean, I hugged his wife and 2 daughters after the game. I don't ever want to see that. And listen, we know how hard it is. I know how hard it is for families, and everyone's quick to point out, oh, well, he'll be fine. He got this big buyout. Well, I mean, he's got to move his family. His daughters have friends that, that they may not finish high school with now. I mean, you have to pick up and everything changes. Or they stay there and he leaves. Right. And now he doesn't get to see them during their end of the year of their childhood. And listen, to quote, Mad Men, that's what the money's for. I get that. And I understand that. And we as football coaches all understand that we make choices that we decide to get in this profession. But there are real life human consequences to these actions. And I know everyone's very quick to say he needs to be fired. This person needs to be fired. This person needs to be fired. But those same people, I'd love it if they had the same accountability on their jobs. Right? If they had the exact same accountability on their jobs, would they like people tweeting out that this person needs to be fired and have their kids see that all the time? And again, I understand that I'm in a different profession. I choose this profession very, very, and I love it. And I would do anything to keep my job, and within the rules, obviously. And I'd do anything because I love this job and I love the people I get to work with. But I do think that that's one of the real world human consequences that a lot of people don't think about.
Scott, you have a follow-up there?
No, I just also, thank you for the great response, Coach. This week being the bye, do you feel like, maybe this is a good situation? So, because it's going to be a lot of back padding, as you know. I mean, no matter how much you want to say 1-0 each week, this game means more to this fan base than the others in a lot of cases. So is it maybe good to kind of have a week to kind of take a breath and then get guys back to focus on the next game?
You know what? Our guys responded really well on Sunday, Scott, and I think that our guys are ready to go. So I don't really worry about that too much. But hey, we need a bye week. We need to make sure that we get healthy and do those sort of things. And it's also a great opportunity for us to go out and get some recruiting done, which is also the lifeblood of the program. So for both those reasons, I think that the bye week couldn't have come at a better time. But I have liked the way our guys have responded, and our guys are ready and they want to get better. And so I think that I'm already seeing that, and that's what I love to see.
Let's go back over to Adam.
Hey, Coach, I know you've probably spoken about this at a lot of other press conferences since Saturday's game, but just what can you say about Colton Joseph and maybe the step that he may have taken in his development and specifically in an environment like that, a game like that, stage like that, to, rise to the occasion and play, complete his passes with precision and make the right decisions when to tuck it and run, just his development as a player from a game like that.
Well, I saw some development with him in the Indiana game. And so maybe the rewards weren't there because, the 3 interceptions or whatever, but I saw some big time development from him there. And then these next 2 weeks have been huge strides, both of them. And I think he's somebody who works really, really hard at his craft. He enjoys playing the game of football. He loves the whole, everything about it, running, passing, making the decisions, being there with his teammates, all those sort of things. And so, I couldn't have been more proud of him. And I told him that about 10 times. And he would tell you some of the plays I told him were his best plays. You guys probably don't even remember. And I was some of those plays I couldn't have been more proud of him of how he's knowing how to play quarterback now. He's knowing when to put air on the ball. He's knowing when to drill it. He's knowing when to take the check down. He's knowing when to know, okay, just get back to the line of scrimmage and not give up a sack right here, and knowing when to throw it away. And yeah, I think he did an unbelievable job.
Thanks, Coach Rahne. Appreciate your time today.
All right, thanks, guys.